How's it? Yes, I'm out in my favourite location, the beautiful New Forest in Hampshire. It's the 1st of July. It has been a balmy hot day over here. Temperatures right now in this very shady glade are 25 degrees centigrade. I believe that's around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's drippingly warm. I've set myself up this afternoon for a one-night solo hammock camp over there in that direction. I have been out 3 times recently, once with a friend as well, and just didn't have the desire to film. But today, a little bit different. I've got a piece of kit I'm trying out that I've been sent by a company called LETWESAF. It's a radar safety technology, and it's this little device here. That's the receiver, and over here, which I've mounted temporarily on a phone tripod because while I'm in testing, so I can move it around easily, you can strap it to a tree if you need to, is the radar device itself. So yeah, I'll come back to that shortly. My setup for this evening is, I didn't need a basher. It says 0% chance of rain overnight until 7 AM when suddenly it jumps to a 10%. So I've popped that up as a just in case. It's only a small basher. Underneath that, the One Wind 11-foot zippered hammock with bug net. Inside of that is a very lightweight summer sleeping bag by Nature Hike. Temperatures aren't going to drop below 20 degrees centigrade tonight, so it's going to be a warm night. And at the very end there, I've got my One Wind pillow, which is perfect for hammocks because it can be fastened to the top of the hammock and it stays in place during the night. And then a ridge line full of bits and bobs, which I'm using to help test out this radar system I've been sent by LETWESAF. Okay, that's the setup. I'm now going to be playing around with my radar system, see how it works, and I'll come back to you with a little more detail. Oh, and there's one other thing I've got up here as well. There's a trail cam just mounted up here, which is going to assist me with the testing of the radar system. So I've got that, the trail cam. I've also got a infrared monocular and bright torches, etc. So those in combination with this LETWESAF radar detection system, it gives me an interesting hour or two of playing around and seeing how it performs. Before I get into the detail of the LETWESAF radar system, which I'm currently testing, I just want to give a little background on to why it interests me, this piece of kit. I do get contacted by a number of companies, and to be fair, majority of them are turned down. I'm not interested in pieces of kit that either I've already got something similar to it, or it's of no use to me at all. But this was intriguing. So I said, yeah, send it on down, and I'll certainly have a look at it, but an honest review indeed. And the reason why I wanted to test it out is because I do a lot of solo wild camping, particularly out in this forest here. And no matter how many times you do it and you come out and as the light drops, it's an exhilarating experience. It really is an exhilarating experience. It's good for the mind. But there are moments as the light fades, you hear certain sounds in the forest and your mind starts playing tricks with you. I don't have any issues with animals in the forest. You know, we don't have anything in this country that is going to attack you during the night. You know, maybe the old grumpy badger or maybe an angry beaver. But you know, really, there's nothing that's going to that I'll come across in the forest that if I keep my distance and I'm sensible, you know, then nothing's really going to happen to me. My biggest fear is humans. There's humans while I'm asleep who stumble across my location where I'm camping. And that to me is kind of my fear, that, you know, waking up in the night, and it's happened a number of times before, waking up during the night, hearing a noise and unsure what that noise is. So yeah, for me it's an anxiety producing, not all the time, otherwise I wouldn't come out. And I can manage that anxiety pretty well. And some of the things I do to manage that anxiety, I'll show you in a minute. Things that I bring along with me and things that I kind of prepare mentally. And that helps me through the night to make a wonderful experience rather than a high anxiety experience. Wow, I had a I thought a minute ago while I was testing out this LETWESAF radar system, and it just jumped into my head and reminded me of a circumstance that occurred, which is probably what's unconsciously prompted me to try this equipment out. Cut a long story short, I did a video a few times back. I think it was Daz's first hammock, first and only so far, hammock camp with me. First time he'd used a hammock. You know, I'm not a competent filmer, I'm not a competent speaker. I'm one of those guys that will set up and record a ton of footage and only use part of it in the final edit. And yeah, I'm never kind of happy with what I've done. And this particular night, I had set up the camera. I don't remember exactly what I did, but there was a piece of footage where I'd set up in front of my hammock, which was away from the campfire where we were sitting. And I'd recorded something, and when I went back through the footage back at home on the big screen, I watch everything that I've recorded, and then I'll trash it. And I watched this one back, and I noticed something on the screen, and it was a shadowy figure just behind my hammock. And I'd left the camera on after doing a bit of recording and gone back to talk to Daz and sit and chat and whatever else. Then realized I needed my camera to record something else we were doing around the fire, and realized I'd left it over by the hammock, which is sort of 15, 20 meters away from where the campfire was, and it was still rolling. So anyway, that's the footage that I reviewed. Once again, cut a long story short, there's a shadowy figure or something that looks like it's just behind my hammock moving. And I remember when I watched that and I thought, I could have easily used it as a bit of clickbait. I could have easily put in there, you know the clickbait stuff that people do, but I didn't. What I did though is left in, I can't remember how long the piece of footage is. It's probably 10 seconds, 15 seconds maximum, I'm guessing. I'll put a link to that video now on the screen or at the end of the video, and a timestamp of where that appears. You don't have to sit and trail through the whole video and have a look at that, because I'll be interested to see what anybody else thinks of it. But there's definitely what appears to be a figure behind my hammock, looking towards where the camera is. Anyway, do have a nosy at that. It just jumped into my head. I'm going to head back and carry on testing this piece of radar equipment, which I'm quite intrigued by at the moment. Settings are a little bit, how shall we say, interesting. Yeah, there's some amazing YouTube channels out there, so people that I watch all the time, who inspire me, who give me the incentive to get out here and do it. And no matter how large or small a channel these people that I watch, I think most of them will admit that there's, and some have on their channels, that there is anxiety, there is a fear when you go out solo camping. And most of them will say that there are things that they do, that they prepare physically, and mentally, things they bring along. They're just the preparations that make it less anxiety inducing. You know, I guess it's like acting. You know, even the greatest actors out there, the Sir Laurence Oliviers of this world, used to get sick prior to getting on stage, you know. And they had a method that they work through to get themselves onto stage, and it would all fade. And, you know, we kind of have that, well, I certainly have that kind of similar thing. I have things that I bring along with me, and I'll show you some of them. I haven't got them all here today, but I'll show you some of them. And all of those things go to make me feel a little bit safer, a little more secure in the woods at night on my own. And they're important things. And there's also the mental side as well. I think if you know that the area you're in, you know the kind of things you're likely to come across. You've done your research on the kind of noises. If it's your first time going out into the woods, you've done your research onto the kind of noises you're going to hear. You know, I suggest going out with other people first into the woods before you go solo camping, just so you can get used to it. And you'll have the reassurance of having a colleague or a partner there with you. But certainly I did that the first few times I went out, and then you know, that big leap out there on your own and that huge anxiety that comes with it. You know, that reduces over the years. It doesn't go away totally, but it reduces. And you know, you will still have occasions. I had a badger come, 2 or 3 videos, I didn't capture it. I had a badger come through the forest floor. You know, it was in autumn time, a lot of leaf on the forest floors, a lot of noise underfoot from that leaf. And it came through, and I don't know what, I had no idea what it was that was coming towards me. Well, it wasn't strictly coming towards me, it was about 50 meters away that passed, but it felt like it was coming towards me during the night, and I didn't know what it was, and was it humans, and blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until I got my super bright torch out and shone it in the direction of the noise that it was a badger that stopped, stared at me, kind of gave me that look, and then carried on its business, you know. So, you know, and I went with a relief, and after a little calming down, managed to get myself back to sleep. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on at night. And I say my biggest fear is other humans coming across my area. I don't have any issues with animals, but some of the animal sounds you can hear and bird sounds, etc., during the night are particularly in the depth of the night when the forest is silent. Yeah, it can be unsettling. It can be unsettling. I'm out in the woods, and I don't have, as you can tell from my phone there, any signal at all. Zilch. Nero, not even 1 bar. However, I knew exactly where I was coming. I wasn't sure the exact spot, but within a couple of 100 yards. One of the key things I did was left my family, my location of where I'm approximately going to be. I've got an Ordnance Survey map of this area, a paper map at home. I've circled on it, left it out for my family to say, this is where I'm going to be. I've told them roughly where I'm going to be parking the car and leaving that overnight as well. And I gave them a rough idea of when to expect me back at the latest tomorrow. With all those things, if something does happen to me overnight, at least they have an opportunity to tell the emergency services approximately where I am. In fact, where I've actually camped is right in the middle of the circle of what I gave my family on the map. On top of that, you think, well, if they've got the map, you know, what have you got? Well, I've on my phone, even though I don't have a map with me, I have the same maps downloaded on my phone. So I have, for example, that's the OS map on my phone now. It's downloaded so it works without a signal, and I know exactly where I am. That little red triangle on the map is where I am right now, and that is exactly where I put the circle around that on the map for my family. So yeah, I think that's just one of the sort of ways you can prepare. Obviously, if you can get hold of they're quite expensive. They're high up on my wanted list, but kind of a little GPS device. You know, one of the little Garmin Reach ones, the little minis. I think, you know, one of those would be great, because not only do they give you your location, your grid coordinates, but you can text from them as well using satellite. So something like that's high on my plan. But if you haven't got that, then just let people know where you're going to be. Give them an idea where you've parked your car. Give them an idea of the time that you're going to be back home, when to expect you by. And as soon as you get a signal, if you find a signal, let them know you're okay. That's the other thing as well. I want to do a quick little roundup of kind of the points that I consider when picking a spot from a safety security point of view. I know I was blabbering on earlier about various bits and bobs, but it's kind of concise, just rounds it up a little bit. And rather than looking at me, I tell you, so you can look at the forest and listen to that wonderful aeroplane that's flying over at the moment. But yeah, let's have a look that way. So yeah, I've chosen this kind of well-hidden spot. It's well off the beaten track. There's no nearby well-trodden footpaths. There are some footpaths on the map nearby, but they're barely, if ever, used. This is an area of the forest that I think only probably forest rangers will come out here on the odd occasion. And then the many times I've camped out in this location, I've not seen a single person. So yeah, choose a well hidden off the footpath plot. Arrive, you know, don't spend your whole day at a spot that's a public spot, because you will attract attention. Arrive just before dusk and leave just after dawn, and then you're less likely to attract any attention. Tell someone what I said earlier, your location. Make sure people are aware where you're going to be, so that if something does happen, they've got an idea or an inkling roughly where you're going to be camped, so they can come and find you. What else is there we can do? Trust your instincts, I think, is probably the biggest one I could say. There's many a YouTuber who've abandoned camp in the middle of the night. I've seen their videos, and you know what? I don't blame them. You know, if it doesn't feel right, get out of there. I can't say it simpler than that. If it doesn't feel right, go. Keep your essentials. That's the other one I was trying to think of. Keep your essentials inside your tent, or in this case, in my hammock. So at hand, I haven't got my knife in here yet. That will join me later on. It won't be hanging around my neck at that point, but I've got my light in here. I've got there's a power bank there for my phone if that needs recharging. I've got my head torch in there. Good thing about a head torch, this one doesn't have a red light. Ideally get a red light head torch. The reason being, and I don't know the science behind it, I'm sure someone will pop it in the comments, but it doesn't affect your night vision as much as white light. So by using a red light, you'll still be able to see in the dark quite well afterwards. With a white light, it can kind of get you semi-blinded from it, so your night vision is pretty poor, and that can last for up to sort of 40 minutes. I have got a extremely powerful Anchor rechargeable torch here. I don't know how many million trillion lumens this one is, but it's damn bright. And you know, if I do hear anything in the night and I need to shine a light on it, like the badger I saw a few months ago, this thing is super powerful. It sort of illuminates like daylight wherever it's shining. And the other thing, of course, if it's humans, except you're going to blind them as well with this light. You know, it's going to give you the opportunity to get away. What else I've got? Oh, camera batteries, and I've got a monocular as well. This is an infrared monocular. It's just a cheap one off of AliExpress, but yeah, that's one where I don't need to then actually hit the torch up. I can just use that monocular and using infrared see what's out there without illuminating the place. So you'll notice I haven't got a fire here this evening. I've no intention of cooking. I've got plenty of cold drinks, snacks, etc. to eat. I don't have no intention of lighting a fire this evening. I don't need one for warmth, and I don't need one for ambience because the sun won't be setting till after 9:30 tonight, and I'm going to enjoy sitting in the forest in the dark anyway. It's going to be clear skies, so it's not going to be that dark in here either. But avoid attracting attention. So, you know, things like bright lights, loud noise, music, fires, smoke, cooking smells will attract attention. People can smell these things and see these things from a long, long way away and will be drawn to explore and find out what's going on. So keep those things down to a minimum. Really do. It's really important. If there's a group of you out there enjoying yourselves and you're on public land and you're in a legal place, then fine. Let your hair down, enjoy yourselves. But you know, out on your own, solo wild camping, reduce that anxiety, reduce anything that's going to attract attention to you. Keep that down to a minimum. Talk about attracting attention. One of the probably worst things you can do, and there's many YouTubers out there, and being an ex-drinker myself, I'm not holier than thou. I've done it myself, but you know, you get out to the woods, the forest, and you have a couple of bevies, and a couple's great. That's great. If it helps you relax and helps you settle down and enjoy things, it can be a positive addition to your experience. But please don't get drunk. You know, don't drink too many. It's gonna dull your senses. And drugs is the same issue. Just be sensible out there. You know, if you're drunk, collapsed and snoring in your tent or hammock, you're not going to be aware of what's going on around you. You know, you could have all of your stuff being nicked, or worse. We won't go down that path, but you know exactly what I mean. Just take it easy with the drinking and the drugs. Before I return to continue the testing of my LETWESAF radar motion detection system, just a quick little roundup on that. You know, smart kit and solid preparation will help you to be safer and, very importantly, feel safer. It'll help reduce your anxieties and you'll have a much more magical experience. I've been testing the LETWESAF radar motion detection system for, of course, probably about an hour now. I haven't been keeping an eye on the time. It's highly sensitive. It sure is that. And, you know, kind of one of the negatives, it's not really a negative, it's just, for me, a little bit annoying. I don't like the ding-dong sound that the receiver makes. It reminds me very much of my, doorbell chime at home that links up to my phone. It's very similar to it. I don't know what, I was trying to think hard what I would prefer to replace it. I don't know. Maybe just some options of different other sounds, but yeah, not overly keen on that, but it sure is highly sensitive. So I've got some settings still to play with to hone those in a little bit onto the area that I need covered. It works exceptionally well. I'm going to turn the camera off for me and put it back onto the system. I've got them turned off at the moment, otherwise they'd be going ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And yeah, good little setup. This thing, I've got it on a little tripod at the moment, but it has got a couple of loop attachment bits. It doesn't come with straps. I've got some bungee cord, so you could, like I have with the trail cam, couldn't think of the word then, mount it onto a tree. I've got it on the tripod so I can move around and place it into an area that I want to. I have tried it a good 10 meters away from my hammock, and it talks beautifully to the receiver. So, and I believe it goes a lot further than that. I'm not sure how the distance is. I'll look into the stats and pop them up on screen, etc. But rather than pointing at me again, I'll let you enjoy the wonderful views of the forest while I just give you a couple of, look at that deadfall there, all those trees. That's certainly not an area I'd want to put my hammock. There's a lot of massive trees up and above in that section there with a lot of widowmakers. This little section here is not too bad, and there's no large trees left above me. They've all fallen down, and I'm got my hammock put up on couple of hollies. Just don't tread on the little dried holly leaves on the ground because they are little razors. Anyway, what have I found so far with this thing? It's very sensitive. It detects really subtle movement. They say it even detects breathing. I mean, I haven't tested it for that. I'm not sure how you would test it for that. But anyway, yeah, they say it detects breathing. Literally, the moment I get it within the sensitivity area, it makes its noise. And I will show you that during the night once the lights are down, because for me, it really comes into its own when it's dark, when it's nighttime. You know, during this evening, I can see clearly out there. I don't need a radar detection system to tell me what's out there. But at night time, it will hopefully come into its own. I hope it's not too sensitive. I wouldn't want it going off every couple of minutes because of leaf fall or that kind of thing. We'll wait and see what happens. Anyway, that'll be the part of the nighttime testing. You know, I'm not a big fan of tripwires or infrared sensors. So this thing seems to be detecting, even if I'm stood still, it's detecting me. So I think you know, if anyone's creeping up and then standing still, it's going to detect them. And I think it's up to something like 45 feet in front of the radar transmitter, and it's kind of 10 foot either side, that kind of range. I think it does. It definitely penetrates these trees. No issue at all there. It goes through sort of wood and leaves and everything else. I'm told that by reading the instructions that it won't go through metal, but pretty much goes through anything else. So it'll go through canvas in your tents. It'll go through most kinds of barriers, as long as it's excluding metal. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with that. It's rugged. They say, I haven't tested in the rain, but they say it's all weather and water rainproof. So that's a positive thing. Not something I'm going to test on a balmy summer's evening, but it's got an IP65 rating, so it should shrug off most drizzles and rains. I think it's customizable zones are the issue I'm having a little bit of fun with at the moment. A little bit of frustration initially, but yeah, it's not the easiest thing to customize on zones, but once you get it, you get it, and it becomes a little easier to do. And I've managed to dial down some of the sensitivity on the sides. I'm still going to play around a little bit more because, as I said, I don't want to be woken up every 2 minutes tonight. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and I'll let you know in the morning how that goes. I think it's going to give me a greater peace of mind at night time, you know, as long as it's not too sensitive. And I'll give you feedback in the morning on just what I think about it. The battery life is supposed to easily last through the night. They say it can last up to 7 days. I'm not going to be testing it for 7 days. I'm only going to be testing it tonight, so I won't be able to feedback on that at all. Another little thing I've noted, actually, which I should have mentioned right at the beginning, because it's a big factor. It's a big factor in how you value something, and then that is its price. It is greater than $200, I believe, on the American Amazon site. I've yet to talk to Coben about what it'll be listed on the UK Amazon site. I believe it's around 160 to 180 euros in Europe. So it is a pricey device. Well, you get the two devices. You get the receiver and the radar transmitter. It can handle up to 6 of them. So that couple of hundred is just for the receiver and one transmitter. If you wanted more of these, say for example, for in a workplace or a home, you know, a yard environment, because I imagine it'll be extremely successful in what it does in those environments, it'll be even more expensive. But there again, you are paying for smarter detection and better durability. So yeah, and the detection range is definitely generous. As I said, it won't go through strong metal barriers. You know, if you've got thick rocky outcrops out here, it's not going to penetrate those, or great sort of heavy gear covers it may struggle with as well. But certainly, you know, your normal forested environment, you know, with natural fibres and man-made fibres, etc., tents, RVs, that sort of thing, it'll go through and it'll penetrate through that quite easily. A thing I touched on briefly there, which is I've had a little bit of a struggle with, was the learning curve for optimizing the zones. It takes a couple of trial setups. You don't expect to get, well, actually, yeah, you know, I'm not that great with technology, so some of you out there might actually pick it up straight away, but I struggled a little bit with it. It took me a couple of trial setups to avoid kind of environmental false positives. You know, I wanted to detect wildlife. I wanted to detect humans. So, you know, you've just got to look at the sensitivity there and just kind of set it up for what you need. And that's a bit of trial and error, you know, but I've actually quite enjoyed doing that experience. A little frustrating at times, but overall quite enjoyable experience. Just having read a little bit of the blurb that comes with these two pieces, it's quite interesting to read about the comparison to other types of sensors. They say that traditional infrared sensors need a clear line of sight and only trigger on movement, and that these things will trigger on just breath alone. Also tripwires, apparently, I've never used tripwires, but apparently they're quite work intensive to set up, and they can be visible. Radar, however, kind of sees through barriers, apart from metals, works in total darkness, and it kind of remains stable in variable weather conditions as well, which means it's far more suited to kind of this environment, which is very unpredictable, wild forest. Morning. Sorry, mouthful of nuts. Nuts, that is Forest Feast, honey and sea salt, cashews and peanuts. Cracking a little bit of breakfast there. Slept really well last night. It is, gosh, what time is it? 7:36. I have been up for over an hour, tinkering with the kit, having a look at the LETWESAF radar system, and looking at my trail cam. The trail cam feeds through to my mobile phone, and the reason I was looking at that as well is that the LETWESAF didn't go off last night at all, not a single time. So that concerned me. I thought, is it not working, or was there just nothing to pick up? And I've looked at the trail cam and nothing to pick up, so I'm guessing it did its job really well, in which case sensitivity rating is just about right now on it. I think if anything, I had walked through on the trail, sort of animal or human wise, and the trail runs from here through the forest up that way and back through round and then out that way over there. And if you walk along it, you can see sort of deer and I don't know if you can pick that up, but there are deer and I think horse hoof prints as well through here. And it kind of keeps running through that way there. Lovely morning, a little bit cloudy, definitely cooler. Yeah. Forest very still this morning. So yeah, and I spent the last hour just going through my kit, and I was about to spend maybe 5 minutes showing you, now that I've had several hours yesterday playing around with it and adjusting settings and things, how the LETWESAF works. And there's one of two things. I've possibly broken it, but I don't think I have. I think it's actually run out of battery. So it's supposed to have a 7-day battery life. That's the receiver, not the radar transmitter itself. Now the receiver just was working fine, and about 15 minutes ago just died on me. And when I press the on-off button and hold that down, nothing's happening at all. So I think it's run out of power. I think these several hours of playing around with the settings, pushing buttons, having constantly go ding-dong on me, has exhausted the battery, and that's ruined my little end to my little testing session. I was really looking forward to showing you what I'd learnt about it and how the little thing operates, but I'll have to give you the overview of it without it actually working. The transmitter's still working, there's still power in that if I turn it on. Yeah, I've just turned it off again, it's pointless having it on with but there, you can see the little light still coming on this. That's fine. Let me get that turned off, and then it's going red. It's not pairing, and that's turned off again. So yeah, successful testing on it, in the sense that I got it working to the level that I needed it, to sensitivity levels that I needed it. Disappointed I'm not able to demonstrate it this morning with I'll just have to save it for another time. Next camp that I'm out, I'm going to use it regularly now, certainly for solo camps. I'll bring it along with me. They're small enough, they fit, two of those will fit into one of my pockets, no problem. And there'll always be room in my rucksack for it. So, I'll get them charged back up again and bring them out next time. I won't leave it. I had it on a tripod, the radar. I won't bring a tripod next time. I'll just bring some I don't know, a thin bungee cord or something, and wrap it around a nearby tree. But yeah, impressive little bit of kit. My kind of overall feelings on them. Don't like the ding-dongy sound. Wish we could have a choice of kind of the noise it makes, or perhaps even a vibration mode or whatever. The pricing is high, but what value do you put on your safety? You know, when I was having a little long think about that last night, you know, what I spend, I haven't seen the UK pounds listing for it yet, only just the American, and you know, at a couple $100, you know, that's pricey. But as I said, what price do I put on my safety? I've spent more than that on other bits of kit, so you know, I'm certainly going to keep it and use it, and I think I'm very happy with it. And also I'll demonstrate it next time I'm out with it. It just, yeah, it gave me an increased sense of safety, and that I'm pleased about. I had very little anxiety yesterday anyway. And there was no loud or unusual noises in the forest that gave me any reason for concern. Yes, there were lots of noises, but they're all natural noises that I'm used to. So, yeah, that's it really. Not a lot else to say on it. LETWESAF radar detection system. Yeah, big thumbs up. I can see there's a variety of settings and applications it could be useful for. Wild camping, yeah, definitely something I'm going to continue to use. And that's it from me in the beautiful New Forest on this cloudy, hazy, but very warm morning. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.